off last time with all the epic teachers leaving orientation for destinations and adventures unknown, and I've learned a little bit more since then. I'm living in downtown Seongju, and it's a smallish town that's about an hour away from the metropolis of Daegu. There's about 14,000 people that live in the official township of Seongju. Now this is a pretty small population, but because we are surrounded by mountains, the people of Seongju are all squeezed together to give the town this kind of busy urban feel for about 3 blocks. And after that come the Melons. Hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of greenhouses far as the eye can see, filled with melons.
See, this is where they grow chame melons,
also known as yellow melons or Korean melons. It's a popular food here in Korea, and Seongju County produces 70% of all of Korea's supply of melons. So what are these melons like? Well, think cantaloupe or honeydew with just a hint of tartness and a slightly more delicate taste. And they are good melons. Now, the area of Seongju that has most caught my storytelling attention so far is the town park. And it's a good-sized park, and there are always people playing in the park, resting, walking the exercise path. And this exercise path circles around the park and travels right through a grove of 57 willow trees. And the reason I know there are 57 willow trees is because every tree is numbered. This is the Gyeongsan-Ri forest, and these willow trees are believed to be between 300 and 400 years old. And the story is that during the 15th century, in the midst of the Joseon dynasty, there was a fortress at Seongju. And one day, the children who lived outside the west gate of Seongju fortress began to die. Just healthy and vibrant one day, ill the next, and dead within a week. The people could find no explanation, and in desperation they traveled over the mountains to find a geomancer. That's a sage who converses with the earth. And the geomancer agreed to help. And when he arrived at Seongju fortress, he listened to the land, and he learned that the problem comes from 2 rocks. Right outside the fortress is a field, and on one side of the field stands a rock shaped like a Gyeongsan-Ri. That's the headpiece that's worn by a woman for her wedding. And on the other side of that field stands a rock shaped like a Taegon. That's a hat worn by a man. And because these rocks are facing each other, the children are dying. To save the town, the geomancer tells the people that they must plant chestnut trees between the rocks, next to the Ikcheon River. Chestnuts provide sustenance and show abundance and would calm the rocks. Now the people do not understand why this is happening, but they don't ask for a reason. For they know that the reasons of the earth often surpass human understanding, and they don't care so long as they can save their children. They heed the geomancer's advice, they plant the chestnut trees between the rocks, and from then on, the children live. Well, these chestnut trees stood proud for a century and a half, but late in the 16th century, there was a Japanese invasion of Korea, and the Japanese pirates were repelled, but no one can leave a war unaffected. Damage was done to the land and to the people, and after this invasion, the residents of Seongju felt that the moral quality of the people had been hurt and was fading. Because of this, the chestnut trees were replaced by the 57 willow trees that stand there today, still separating the Gyeongsan-Ri and the Taegon stones, so that the town might flourish.
yet their branches are forever draped over the graves of the children taken by the stones. So that's where we begin, but we've got a lot more ahead of us. More tales borrowed from Korean folklore. We've got stories about life and the history here in Korea. Plus, I'm going to share some of my own personal adventures while traveling around this great land. So the fun's just beginning. Stay in touch.